Thank you for coming back to visit us at Gruber Motor Company, the auto repair shop of the future. It occurred to me today that in any organization, there are certain people that rise to the top and become most visible. People like Elon and Zuckerberg and Bezos and Gates. But you know what? I'll bet if you talk to any one of those people, you would find that they will openly admit that it is not them creating the magic. There are teams and legions of people and layers of management behind them that are making all the magic happen. So what I'd like to do today is continue our walk around the shop and give some recognition to the people that are actually making all this happen. So we're going to start this morning with a Tesla Roadster project that Luca is working on. And what is it that's going on with this car, Luca?
Hello, Mr. YouTube World. So regarding this car has a third-party DC fast charger, Chatamo in this case, and the customer wanted to be able to cool the battery pack while he was charging manually. So normally you can't do that. It's all closed loop. It'll just self-cool whenever it wants to cool. So in this case, we were able to basically read schematics, reverse engineer, and add in the ability to cool the pack with the existing cooling system without any additional components. That's it. It works great, actually. Really good.
Excellent. Thank you, Luca.
Yeah, of course.
So what is going on with this car is it has the Chatamo or DC fast charging conversion, which very few Roadsters actually had. And since the car and firmware was not designed for that application, we've taken it a step further and given it some additional cooling to make sure that the battery is happy with that conversion. So let's go over and see what else is going on in the shop here today. So here we've got an interesting project going on. This car actually had the battery pack back up inside the car, and we're finding that there are problems at times with the internals in this battery pack, and I'm going to turn it over to Jose at this point, who's been working on this particular project to fill us in on the details.
So this car came in because wasn't powering on. Turned out to be the DC to DC converter. Had to take out this sheet to get to the converter right here, and it turned out to be a blown fuse inside of it.
So inside the DC to DC converter, we've got it on a bench, and we're going to go in the lab and we'll show you what that looks like inside. In addition to a blown fuse, by the way, there was a transistor, there was a MOSFET that was also blown. And what we're finding is that these types of parts in these Roadsters are no longer in production. So the only way to keep these cars alive is for a company like ours to do component level repairs on these types of subassemblies. So let's go in the lab and see what's going on with this DC to DC converter. By the way, the function of a DC to DC converter in a Tesla Roadster, quite simply, is not all of the devices in this car operate off 400 volts DC, which is what the main battery puts out. Things that will never operate on 400 volts DC, or should not, are things like headlights, windshield wiper motors, the audio system in a car. If all of those devices were 400 volts, anyone working on your car could get electrocuted. So the car manufacturers have seem to have decided to continue to keep the 12-volt systems in even battery electric vehicles very much alive, and that's what that DC to DC converter does inside that large battery pack. It takes the 400 volts and converts it down to 13.8, which is actually what the 12-volt systems run on. So let's go in the lab and see what's going on with this DC to DC converter. So welcome to our electronics lab, and that DC to DC converter that came out of that Roadster is on the bench here. Al, one of our engineers, has successfully repaired it, and I'm going to let Ken describe to you. First of all, Ken, how long have you been with us?
About 10 years.
10 years, okay. And what is your background?
I'm an engineer, electrical engineer. I've been doing this for a long time. I've done software and hardware.
Okay. And
I enjoy them all.
So what did you find inside this DC to DC converter for that Roadster?
This is called an APS, auxiliary power system, and it takes the 400, approximately 360, 370, 380, 400 volt battery power, and converts it down to 13.5 and 12.5 volts to power other componentry inside the vehicle.
So we're actually able to simulate the conditions in the car and the voltages in the car. And one of the ways that we are able to do things like this is we had spent a lot of time reverse engineering this product, and here you can see some of the documentation that we've developed that allows us to troubleshoot and figure out what's going on inside these. Again, without somebody doing like what we do, these cars would basically be idled. Unfortunately, this particular part is no longer in production. We've been trying to source it. The company actually was acquired many years ago, and the new company is not continuing to make this custom product. All right, well, let's continue through the lab here. So here we have Peter Gruber. He's become one of the foremost Roadster experts. People seek him out globally for tech support, log file analysis, and we haven't seen his face in over a year, so we're all going to be surprised once that mask comes off one of these days. In our operations team here, let's see what's going on here this morning. Both SB and Amber, who handle all the customer service issues and the transport issues and ordering of parts. So what's going on with you this morning, SB?
Thank you, Pete. Yes, so it's been a very tough road since I've been here. So I don't know if Pete mentioned, but shortages of parts. So that's been a very difficult thing for us lately, especially for Roadsters. Not so much for Model S and X, since those are the most newer cars, but for Roadsters definitely has been complicated to get parts. But yes, that's pretty much about it. Just trying to get these parts together and getting these cars here from all over the world and working with transporters. So yes, I've been working my ass off every day since I started working here. So just to make sure that every Tesla customer is happy and enjoys their car.
Perfect. Thank you, SB. And by the way, staying with that every customer is happy theme, if you notice, SB has some cards from customers. There are a number of them actually, and we actually post these. So to our customer base, if you're happy with our service, make sure you send SB and the ops team a notification how happy you are, and we will post it and put it up. So we have another project here on a Model S today. This is a Model S battery module, and we're actually repairing this down to component level. This is Manny, and Manny's going to tell us what he's doing on this battery pack.
Well, on this battery module, we had a bad cap and a bad IC, and we replaced those two, and hopefully we can get it back in the car and working.
So this is a Tesla Model S battery module, which contains a number of cells, of course, which are controlled by a battery management board. And occasionally these things fail, and we're able to go right down to that board and change those tiny little components on that board to effect a repair, rather than replace the entire module, which gets way more expensive. So continuing in the lab area here, we've got Al, who's been with us a number of years as well, who is also working on a Tesla Roadster DC to DC converter. We've got two of them that have failed. And Al, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, well, I've been in the electronics business now for about a good 22 years. I've worked on a number of things from rapid optical beam steering for the Air Force to slot machines in Las Vegas for gambling industries. So I have a versatile background. I'm working on a DC power supply, and what I have here is a block diagram of how everything is set up. So what I did was I labeled the blocks up here to the location on the board down here. For instance, number 6 right here would be right here, the active switch elements, the ZV full bridge, which is the schematic over here, and the parts are in this location right here. So what I'm doing is going through it, testing for faulty components, open resistors, capacitors that aren't correct values. Right here, I just found a pulse width modulator that may be faulty, since I've seen some rare instances where I didn't like the output. So I'm checking that out right now. I just found a data sheet, and it's obsolete part from Texas Instruments.
One of the things that you'll see here is schematics. These are schematics that we've had to create because a lot of these Roadster parts are not only obsolete, but there is no information on the circuit boards or on the diagrams or even test procedures. So by us recreating that, it makes it easier to service that type of equipment. So back in here, we have an area that actually doubles as a brake area. Look at Amber's already disappearing. We were hoping to get Amber in the shot, but not everybody is camera confident, I guess is the right word. So anyway, this is the parts area which doubles as our lunchroom, and we get a lot of stuff done here as well. All right, so let's see what else is going on out in the shop area here. What we have here is a hood, and I'm going to let Ramiro tell you all about the magic that he worked on this piece.
Hello, this is Romero from Gruber Motor Company, and today I'm going to be telling you guys one of the challenges I faced this week. And one of those challenges was painting this brand new hood directly from Tesla, color matching it to the original hood. The previous hood was so damaged, it was unrepairable due to being aluminum. And
so we find that our customers generally look to us for the advanced repairs on these types of cars. But once in a while, a low-tech project like this comes along, and to provide a turnkey solution to our customers so that we can take care of everything in-house, we're able to do things like this with skilled people like Ramiro on staff.
I'm glad to help out.
And we've got another project here. This is a Roadster that is getting a 12-volt battery relocation. This is Lewis. He's the one that's handling this project. Do you want to tell us what's going on here, Lewis?
Sure. We're taking the original battery from the Roadster and we're going to relocate it. It's normally right here in the wheel well. It's not accessible for replacement, so we're making it more accessible for the customer if there was a 12-volt battery fault.
So the advantage of this is normally a Tesla Roadster owner would have to take their car to the service center unless they're extraordinarily mechanical and handy and want to dig up underneath their fender. And for about $300 to $500, they would change that little 12-volt motorcycle battery in that front fender. What our retrofit does, it puts that battery, or actually a better battery, inside the trunk here, gets mounted here, and in the future, the customer just merely pops open that container and changes the battery themselves. It becomes a 5-minute operation, and it costs 15–20% of what it would normally cost to have that battery changed underneath that fender. All right, and at this point, I would like to show you our camera crew. And I'm going to try to operate the camera here, but what we have here is we have our sound man, Jesse.
You got to help him make sure it's in focus.
Jesse is our sound man today, and normally on the video shoots, that's the responsibility he takes, but he actually has a bunch of other responsibilities. You want to tell us what you do here, Jesse?
Yeah, sure. I've been working for Gruber for a little over 8 months. I am the webmaster here. I do a lot of the web design and digital marketing stuff, but when we're out here shooting for YouTube, I run the sound. As you can see, we're out here kind of improvising our situation today, seeing what works and what doesn't. But like Elon Musk used to say, you can't be afraid of failure, right?
Thank you, Jesse. And then we have our videographer, Max Gruber. Tell us about yourself, Max.
Hey, so I went to film school and studied TV and film production for a couple of years, and about a year ago during the pandemic I started filming here and doing all the editing and making all the movie magic. And I've enjoyed working with this team here and creating all this content for you guys, and I hope you guys are enjoying it. So,
thank you very much, guys. So thank you for joining us in the auto repair shop of the future at Gruber Motor Company. As always, we appreciate you coming to visit, and feel free to review our other videos on YouTube anytime, which are full of content like this. Thank you.